all across the USA, from Arizona to Pennsylvania, Michigan to Georgia, and battlegrounds in between. The final hours of voting are underway in one of the closest and most consequential presidential races ever.
To those agents of anger determined to divide us instead of unite us, it's time to pack it up and for you to pack it in.
I want you to think about all of the American citizens who could be living a better life if they simply had better leadership in Washington, D.C. My friends, tomorrow we are going to give the American people better leadership.
There's never been an election like this one, and anything is possible until the last vote.
Welcome inside the EP Official Election Center. My name is Ryan Guest, here with a hypothetical prediction for how a 2028 presidential race would turn out between Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and California Governor Gavin Newsom. We'll be back with the first results right after the break. The first big moment of election night is here. The clock is about to hit 7 p.m. on the East Coast. This marks the first major poll closures of the evening, and soon results will start rolling in from 6 states holding a combined 60 electoral votes. All eyes are on the pivotal battleground of Georgia, where those early numbers could give us our first glimpse of how this presidential race might unfold tonight. All right, we have our first projections of the night. EP Official now projects that Vice President J.D. Vance will win Indiana. Vance beats Newsom in Indiana, carrying the Hoosier state's 11 electoral votes, the first projection of the night. The Vice President is also being called the winner in South Carolina. With 9 electoral votes, Vance is the projected winner in South Carolina. Vance is also projected to win in Kentucky, where he will pick up 8 more electoral votes as expected. We can also project that Governor Gavin Newsom has won the state of Vermont. 3 electoral votes in Vermont will go to the Democrats. Newsom wins in Vermont. It's too early to call in these states right now. Georgia, with its 16 crucial electoral votes, remains too early to call, and the first votes here may serve as our first true indicator of tonight's overall outcome. It flipped back into the Republican column in 2020, but remained the 4th closest state in that election. And in Virginia, once a pivotal battleground, it's been a reliably Democratic-leaning state over the last decade and a half, yet its 13 electoral votes are also too close to call at the moment. All right, let's take a look at the current state of the Electoral College count. As it stands, J.D. Vance has secured 28 electoral votes, while Gavin Newsom has 3. Remember, a candidate needs 270 electoral votes to win the White House. We've got a long way to go tonight, and as you can see, the states shaded in a darker gray still have their polls open, with voters in line and heading to the polling booths across the rest of the country. This includes Florida, where precincts have closed in most of the state, except for the westernmost counties in the Panhandle, where polling stations will remain open until 8 p.m. EP Official will not be making a call in this state until the very last people have had their say in this historic presidential contest. We'll be back with more results right after the break. we're approaching another critical round of poll closings in the Vance v. Newsom presidential race just moments from now here at 7:30 p.m. on the East Coast. That's when polls will close in the battlegrounds of North Carolina and Ohio, as well as West Virginia. Together, these states account for 38 of the 270 electoral votes needed to win the White House. We have an EP official projection in West Virginia. J.D. Vance is projected to carry the state and its 4 electoral votes, the second most Republican-leaning state in the entire country in each of the last 3 cycles. This comes as no surprise here. It's too early to call, meanwhile, in North Carolina with 16 electoral votes at stake. North Carolina is a perennially competitive state and remains a key battleground tonight. As for the state of Ohio, a must-win for any prospective Republican president. Once a critical swing state, Ohio has been reliably Republican over the last decade. No GOP presidential candidate has been elected to the White House without winning Ohio. With 17 electoral votes at stake tonight, it's also too early to call. Let's take another look at the Electoral College map where it stands right now. 5 electoral votes from West Virginia raise Vance's total to 32, while just 3 electoral votes have been awarded to Newsom so far from Vermont. Virginia and Georgia remain too close to call, and they're now joined by Ohio and North Carolina. Let's get a key race alert right now. All right, we've got some EP official projections coming in right now. Let's start in Illinois, where EP official projects that Gavin Newsom will carry the state. The governor secures its 19 electoral votes. In Massachusetts, 11 more electoral votes go to Newsom as the Democrat is projected to carry the state. Gavin Newsom also wins in Maryland, adding another 10 electoral votes to his total. Maryland, a reliably blue state, is now in the California governor's column. Newsom picks up another win in Connecticut with 7 electoral votes. No surprises here, as Connecticut goes blue for Gavin Newsom. Similarly, in Rhode Island, 4 more electoral votes are projected to go to Newsom. The governor carries Rhode Island, and as expected, Delaware. Delaware's 3 electoral votes also head to the Democratic camp. Additionally, the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., is projected to give its 3 electoral votes to Newsom. Finally, EP official projects that Maine's 1st congressional district will go to Gavin Newsom. However, the remaining 3 electoral votes from Maine, 2 for the statewide winner and 1 from the 2nd district, are still too close to call at this time. For Vance, we can now project that the vice president wins Florida, carrying its 30 electoral votes along with it. The Sunshine State has trended harder to the right than any other state over the last decade and is called for Vance as polls close here at 8 o'clock Eastern. EP can also project the vice president wins in Tennessee. EP official projects that Tennessee, with its 11 electoral votes, will go to Vance, and in the state of Missouri, 10 electoral votes in Missouri are added to the Vance camp's total. The Republican is also the projected winner in Alabama. 9 more electoral votes go to Vance from Alabama. The vice president wins in Alabama, and in Oklahoma, 7 electoral votes from Oklahoma go to Vance, extending its streak of Republican presidential victories to 15 that's tied for the record. And finally, in Mississippi, another 6 electoral votes go to the Vance campaign as the vice president carries Mississippi. At this hour, we are unable to make projections in 4 key states. In Pennsylvania, it's too early to call. Pennsylvania remains a critical battleground, both symbolically and practically, with its 19 electoral votes representing the largest prize among tonight's contested states. Both campaigns have invested heavily here, making it a pivotal moment in tonight's race. In New Jersey, the Granite State, it's also too early to call. Once considered a Democratic stronghold, New Jersey shifted significantly toward Trump in 2020 and 2024, marking a dramatic 11-point swing. Tonight, we'll see if J.D. Vance can continue that trend or if the state reverts to its Democratic roots. Meanwhile, it's too early to call in New Hampshire, where 4 electoral votes are at stake. We've already been tracking votes coming in from the state, with just a few polling locations remaining open until 8 p.m. here. Maine also remains too early to call, with its 4 electoral votes divided between the statewide winner and its 2 congressional districts. The first district, favoring Democrats, has already been called for Newsom. However, the rural and Republican-leaning 2nd District, along with the statewide vote, remains undecided. If no candidate secures 50% of the vote, Maine's ranked choice voting system could come into play. Lastly, Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District is too close to call. This urbanized Omaha-based district backed Biden in 2020 and Harris in 2024. Now let's take a closer look at the Electoral College counts and how these 8 o'clock projections are shaping the race to 270 electoral votes. J.D. Vance currently leads with 105 electoral votes, while Gavin Newsom has secured 61 electoral votes. At this moment, 8 states remain too close to call, and these are shaded in white on the electoral map. Additionally, more than half of all available electoral votes come from states where polls have not yet closed, shaded in gray. Among these are the key battleground states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona, where polls are set to close at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's dive into the latest key race updates from the states where votes are already coming in. EP official projects that Vice President J.D. Vance will secure his home state of Ohio, adding 17 crucial electoral votes to the Republican tally for the evening. No Republican presidential candidate has ever reached the White House without carrying Ohio, a state the vice president's campaign was confident about heading into tonight. True to expectations, Vance is projected to deliver Ohio for the GOP once again with a commanding double-digit lead. He currently holds a 10-point advantage over Governor Newsom, leading by approximately 600,000 votes in this decisive projection. Now shifting to the updated electoral map, Vance extends his lead to 122 electoral votes, while Newsom remains at 61. With 270 votes needed to clinch the presidency, the race remains wide open, as several key battleground states are still too close to call. It's 8:30 on the East Coast, and polls are closing in the state of Arkansas, and we've got an EP official projection coming in right now. Vice President J.D. Vance is the projected winner in Arkansas. He will carry its 6 electoral votes. Arkansas has voted Republican in every presidential election since Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton carried his home state in 1996. With an additional 6 electoral votes from Arkansas, Vance's total increases to 128 in the race to 270 electoral votes, while Governor Gavin Newsom trails with 61. We've got a key race alert right now. EP official projects that Gavin Newsom is the winner in Virginia, securing 13 electoral votes for the Democrats once more. The Vance campaign had relatively little presence in the state compared to previous cycles, as Republicans haven't won a presidential race here since 2004. Polling headed into tonight showed Newsom with a comfortable lead. Here's the projected final total. Newsom holds a 52.8% share of the vote to Vance's 44.3%. That's a vote share margin of about 8.5 points, for a near 3-point improvement upon the 2024 margin here, with 445,000 votes separating the two candidates in the Commonwealth. With these results, the Electoral College map updates as follows. J.D. Vance continues to hold 128 electoral votes, while Gavin Newsom's count rises to 74 with his own victory in Virginia. All right, we have another projection right now in New Hampshire. EP Official projects that Governor Newsom will win the state of New Hampshire, securing its 4 electoral votes. New Hampshire, often considered the only true battleground in the Northeast over the last several decades, has been decided by a single-digit margin in 9 consecutive elections now, and that trend continues tonight. It goes blue for the 7th straight cycle, as the final projected result shows Newsom leading by 5.5 points, a much more comfortable margin compared to Kamala Harris's sub-3-point win in 2024. Newsom leads by nearly 47,000 votes at 51.2% to 45.7%. Following that call, here's where the Electoral College map stands right now. Newsom's count increases to 78, but he continues to trail Trump's 128. A total of 270 electoral votes is required to win the presidency. Currently, it stands at 128 to 78. We'll be back with the next round of poll closings at the top of the hour. Voting is coming to a close in 14 states as we approach the second biggest wave of results here at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. A massive 156 electoral votes are up for grabs, with several key battleground states in focus, ranging from Arizona in the Southwest to Michigan and Wisconsin in the Midwest. We have a projection right now. EP projects that Gavin Newsom will carry New York with its 28 electoral votes. The Empire State hasn't backed a Republican since 1984, though President Trump's 2024 performance was the best for a GOP candidate in New York since 1988, as it trended harder to the right than any other state between 2020 and 2024. EP can also make a call in the state of Colorado. 10 electoral votes. Contrary to other solid blue states, Colorado did not see a substantial rightward shift in 2024, and it remains in the blue column here for the 6th straight cycle. We also have a few calls in favor of Vance. It's a big one to start here in Texas. 40 electoral votes out of the Lone Star State can be called for the VP as soon as polls close statewide. We've been tracking the returns over the last hour as all but the El Paso area close an hour earlier at 8 o'clock. Again, Vance is the projected winner in Texas, adding 40 votes to his tally. EP can also project that the vice president wins in Louisiana, carrying with it its 8 electoral votes. The Republican is also projected to win Kansas, adding 6 electoral votes to his total from the Sunflower State. In Iowa, the Hawkeye State, another 6 electoral votes go to Vance here. Trump's 13-point margin in 2024 was the largest for a candidate since 1972. In Nebraska, Vance is projected to carry 3 out of 5 electoral votes, winning the statewide contest, and in Nebraska's 3rd congressional district, while the 1st and 2nd districts remain too close to call. In North Dakota, we project Vance will secure its 3 electoral votes, and the same goes for neighboring South Dakota, where another 3 electoral votes will go to the vice president. Lastly, Vance is also the projected winner in Wyoming, gaining another 3 electoral votes. We're not ready to make a projection yet in Michigan, where 15 critical electoral votes hang in balance. It remains too early to call this pivotal battleground. Governor Newsom's campaign has marked it as a must-win tonight. No Democrat has reached the presidency without Michigan since 1976, and it was the 2nd closest state in the 2024 election. In Arizona, the race is also too close to call. President Biden narrowly won here in 2020, but the state swung sharply to the right in 2024, with President Trump winning by a margin of 5.5 points. We're anticipating a significant initial batch of results from Maricopa County in the Phoenix area shortly after 10 p.m., due to the state's embargo on early vote reporting. Turning to Minnesota, another state too early to call, it boasts a record of 13 straight Democratic victories in presidential contests, the longest current streak in the nation. Kamala Harris carried Minnesota by more than 4 points in 2024, lower than Joe Biden's 7-point margin in 2020, but better than Hillary Clinton's 1.5-point margin in 2016. Its neighbor to the east, Wisconsin, is also too close to call, with another 10 electoral votes at stake here in an essential battleground tonight, having been decided by less than a point in 5 of the last 7 presidential cycles, including each of the last 3. It was the closest state in 2020 at Trump plus 0.9. Finally, the state of New Mexico is too early to call, worth 5 electoral votes. Like its neighbor to the north, Colorado, New Mexico hasn't voted Republican for president since 2004. But unlike Colorado, New Mexico has gradually shifted rightward in recent years. Kamala Harris's 6-point margin in 2024 was the narrowest for a Democrat since 2004. All right, let's take a look at the updated electoral map. Republican J.D. Vance extends his electoral vote advantage over Democrat Gavin Newsom, now holding exactly 200 electoral votes, 70 shy of that major number 270. Governor Newsom has 116 electoral votes to his name. Voters are still making their way to the ballot boxes in 9 states across the western United States now, one of which is the deep blue home state of Gavin Newsom, California, with a colossal 54 electoral votes to award. 10 states remain still too close to call. We're tracking the trends as the returns come in, and on that note, we have a key race alert coming in right now. We've got a projection to make in New Jersey. Gavin Newsom will carry New Jersey and its 14 electoral votes. Long a Democratic stronghold, New Jersey shifted over 10 points to the right in 2024, with President Trump coming closer to victory here than any Republican since 1992. This time, however, early results indicate Newsom will claim the Garden State by a more comfortable margin. Now let's examine what this means for the race to 270 electoral votes. Governor Newsom is projected to have 130 votes, still trailing significantly behind Vice President's 200. All eyes now turn to the pivotal battlegrounds, Georgia and North Carolina in the Sun Belt, alongside Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin in the Rust Belt. We're moments away from another significant round of poll closings as voting is about to conclude in 3 states here at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, including the key battleground of Nevada. A total of 16 electoral votes are on the line right now. EP official projects that J.D. Vance will win the state of Montana, securing its 6 electoral votes. This result comes as no surprise, and neither does this. Vance is also projected to carry Utah, adding 4 more electoral votes as the state predictably goes to the Republican vice president. All eyes, however, are on Nevada. This key battleground has 6 electoral votes at stake and is currently too close to call. President Trump flipped Nevada red for the first time in 20 years, though the margin remained razor thin, decided by 3 points or less for the 3rd consecutive cycle. Notably, Nevada has voted for the winner of the national popular vote in 6 straight elections, the longest active streak of any bellwether state. It's also one of 4 states that shifted further right in all 3 of Trump's campaigns. With the latest projections from Montana and Utah, Vice President J.D. Vance has slightly extended his electoral vote lead. He now stands at 210 electoral votes to Governor Newsom's 130. The race to 270 is unfolding much as expected, with the outcome likely hinging on the same critical group of swing states that decided the last election. EP official can now project that Gavin Newsom will win in New Mexico. California Governor Gavin Newsom will carry the state and its 5 electoral votes. With a projected vote share of 52.3% to 44.2%, it's an approximate 8-point margin here, and in line with previous results in the state as Democrats carry New Mexico for a 6th consecutive cycle. The final tally places Newsom's raw vote advantage at about 76,000 votes. And with that call made, here's where the Electoral College map stands right now. Newsom's count increases to 135, but he still trails Vance's 210. A total of 270 electoral votes is required to win the presidency. We'll be back with the next round of poll closings at the top of the hour. polls are about to close in 4 states out west, including key Democratic strongholds along the Pacific Coast: Washington, Oregon, and California. There are 78 electoral votes at stake as we approach 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Let's take a look. The biggest prize of the night, California, with its 54 electoral votes, will go to its governor, Gavin Newsom, providing a significant boost to Newsom's electoral count from his home state. Moving up the coastline to Washington, we can also project the state for the governor, adding 12 more electoral votes to his total. Newsom will win Washington state. Likewise, in Oregon, Newsom is the projected winner of 8 electoral votes, as Democrats have once again kept the Pacific Blue Wall intact for the 9th consecutive presidential election. One projection for J.D. Vance, EP official, projects the vice president will carry the state of Idaho, securing 4 electoral votes. Let's now take a look at the updated Electoral College map. Vance maintains his lead, but it has narrowed significantly after these projections. He now stands at 214 electoral votes, while Newsom climbs to 209. Remember, 270 electoral votes are needed to win. With the polls now closed everywhere except Hawaii and Alaska, we anticipate making a number of major projections in the next hour or two from the key races still too close to call. Let's take a closer look at some of those states now. Alrighty, now EP can project J.D. Vance has carried Nebraska's 1st congressional district. He's already projected to win the statewide vote and the 3rd congressional district, and now EP calls the 1st district for the vice president as well. One more electoral vote is added to his tally, up to 215, now 6 votes clear of the California governor, Gavin Newsom. 270 is needed to win the presidency. Let's get a key race alert in some of the key states still out there right now. It's that time. Our penultimate poll closing of the night is here. It's midnight on the East Coast, and polls have just closed in Hawaii, where we have a projection to make right now. As expected, EP official projects Governor Gavin Newsom will win the presidential contest in the Aloha State. Hawaii, with its 4 electoral votes, goes blue for the 10th consecutive election cycle. With Hawaii in his column, Newsom raises his electoral tally to 213, but he continues to trail Vice President J.D. Vance, who leads with 215 electoral votes in the all-important race to 270. Let's get a key race alert right here. We have a projection in Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. Known for splitting its electoral votes since 1992, this Omaha-based district has swung between parties over the years. Barack Obama broke through here in 2008, Biden reclaimed it in 2020, and now in 2028, Newsom is projected to win, securing another blue vote from deep red Nebraska. Let's now take another look at the electoral map. This single electoral vote lifts Newsom to within 1 now of the Vice President J.D. Vance. As it stands right now, Vance leads with 215 electoral votes. Newsom has 214. We're gearing up for a number of major projections here in the early morning hours, as 9 states remain too close to call. This is a big one. EP official now projects Gavin Newsom as the winner in Georgia, securing 16 pivotal electoral votes. Vance had held a steady lead earlier in the night, but Newsom slowly closed the gap with late-breaking, heavily Democratic votes from the Atlanta metro area. Our decision desk is now confident that Newsom's narrow lead will hold. Georgia was fiercely contested by both campaigns, as it has been in the last 2 elections. Trump reclaimed it for Republicans 4 years ago after Joe Biden's historic win in 2020, but in 2024, Georgia was one of the battleground states that showed the smallest Republican shift. Democrats have long pointed to Georgia's demographic changes as a key to future wins, and tonight those predictions hold true. With all votes accounted for, Newsom leads Vance by less than a percentage point, 49.5% to 48.6%, a raw margin of under 50,000 votes. Over 5.5 million votes were cast in Georgia, marking the first major breakthrough of the night for Governor Newsom, who now takes the lead in the electoral tally with 230 votes to Vice President Vance's 215. With 8 critical battlegrounds still too close to call, the path to 270 for both candidates now hinges on just a handful of states. Let's get a key race alert from some of those states right now. It's 1 a.m. on the East Coast, and polls have now closed in Alaska, marking our final poll closing of the night. While results will take time to trickle in from this vast and reliably Republican state, its 3 electoral votes remain in play as every vote counts in this nail-biting race. No surprise, it's too early to call here as polls close in the last frontier as we await the first vote drop. Alaska has only gone blue once in its entire history as a state, yet it has slowly shifted closer to the center over the last 2 decades. That's right. EP official projects that Gavin Newsom will carry the state of North Carolina, flipping its 16 electoral votes to the Democratic column. This is a historic breakthrough, the first Democratic victory in a federal election here since 2010, and the first at the presidential level since Barack Obama's narrow win in 2008. North Carolina has been one of the nation's most competitive battlegrounds, with every presidential race since 2008 decided by less than 4%, the longest streak of any state. Tonight's result is no different, as Newsom edges J.D. Vance by just 18,000 votes, 49% to 48.7% out of more than 6 million ballots cast. This flip pushes Newsom to 246 electoral votes, just 24 shy of the presidency, while Vance holds at 215. 6 states remain too close to call, with Vance leading in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Nevada, and Newsom clinging to a shrinking lead in Arizona, where Republican-friendly Election Day votes and late absentee ballots are closing the gap. As the night wears on, the path for both candidates grows narrower, with Newsom needing to break through in one of the Rust Belt states or solidify his hold in Arizona to secure victory. The Tar Heel state may have just delivered a pivotal breakthrough for the California governor, but it's far from over. Stay with us as the final states inch closer to resolution and the race to 270 intensifies. EP official has now projected that J.D. Vance will carry Alaska. It's official, 3 more electoral votes will be added to Vance's tally, bringing his total to 218. While still trailing Gavin Newsom, who stands at 246, this result narrows the race further as just 7 states remain uncalled. The path to 270 is tightening for both candidates as the final battlegrounds come into focus. Gavin Newsom has carried the state of Minnesota. EP official projects the Democratic governor will win Minnesota's 10 electoral votes, marking the 14th consecutive presidential victory for Democrats in the state. the longest active streak in the nation. Newsom's final projected margin over J.D. Vance is 51.8% to 45.2%, a 6.6% gap, translating to a raw vote difference of 222,000 out of 3.3 million ballots cast. This result shows a continued, albeit slightly narrowed, Democratic advantage in Minnesota. Newsom's margin improves on Kamala Harris's 4.6% win in 2024, but falls just short of Joe Biden's 7.1% victory in 2020. Minnesota has consistently been competitive in the 21st century, with no Democrat carrying the state by double digits except for Midwesterner Barack Obama, who narrowly did so in 2008 with a 10.2% margin. So 10 more electoral votes can be added to the Newsom tally, lifting his total to 256, just 14 shy of the magic number. A win in either Pennsylvania or Michigan would now be enough to push him over the top, though he continues to trail in both states. Vance, meanwhile, leads in every other remaining battleground except for Maine, leaving the question: can Newsom break through in any of them to clinch the presidency? EP official can now project that Gavin Newsom will win the statewide race in Maine, securing the 2 electoral votes awarded to the statewide winner, in addition to his earlier victory in Maine's 1st congressional district. While Newsom was favored to carry the state, our decision desk confirmed he will win outright, avoiding a ranked choice voting tabulation. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance will secure the 1 electoral vote from Maine's 2nd congressional district, which covers the rural and heavily Republican northern part of the state. This district, carried by Donald Trump in each of the last 3 presidential elections, continues its Republican lean, marking the 4th consecutive election in which Maine splits its electoral votes. With these projections, Newsom gains 2 more electoral votes, lifting his total to 258, just 12 votes shy of the presidency. Vance gains 1, bringing his total to 219 as the race narrows further. 6 battleground states remain uncalled as the path to 270 tightens. EP official can now project that J.D. Vance will win Nevada's 6 electoral votes, a critical swing state in the Mountain West. With 49.1% of the vote to Gavin Newsom's 47.2%, Vance secures a raw vote margin of just over 29,000 out of more than 1.5 million cast. This win builds on the rightward trend Nevada has shown in recent cycles, first flipping to Donald Trump in 2024 after voting against him in 2016 and 2020. Once again, Nevada proves its pivotal role in determining the outcome of closely fought national elections. With Nevada's 6 electoral votes, J.D. Vance's total rises to 225, while Gavin Newsom remains ahead at 258. Just 4 states remain too close to call, with no more calls expected until the morning hours. Vance needs at least 3 of the 4 to be elected president, while Newsom could hit 270 with a win in Pennsylvania or Michigan. EP official can now project that Gavin Newsom is the winner in Wisconsin, securing the state's 10 electoral votes. This is a significant breakthrough for Newsom and the Democrats, marking the first crack in the Republican Rust Belt wall. In the final projection, Newsom narrowly leads J.D. Vance 49.0% to 48.6%, a raw vote margin of just under 14,000 votes out of more than 3.4 million cast. Wisconsin had been one of the most Democratic-leaning battlegrounds in this cycle. After Kamala Harris came up short here in 2024, despite her strongest performance among the 7 key battlegrounds, Newsom's campaign built on that foundation, maintaining a steady polling advantage and ultimately flipping the state. The victory in Wisconsin brings Newsom to 268 electoral votes, just 2 shy of the 270 needed to win the presidency. Vance remains at 225. With 3 states still uncalled, Vance currently leads in each, though his margins in Pennsylvania and Michigan are shrinking as more votes are counted. All eyes now turn to whether Newsom can claim one more battleground state to clinch the presidency in this razor-thin contest. EP official can now project that J.D. Vance will win Pennsylvania, securing the Keystone State's 19 electoral votes in this razor-thin contest. A crucial swing state in the northeastern Rust Belt, Pennsylvania was seen as a pure toss-up heading into this cycle, with both campaigns pouring resources into each of its 67 counties. In the final projection, Vance leads Gavin Newsom 49.0% to 48.4%, a margin of just 11,542 votes out of nearly 5.8 million cast, one of the narrowest margins in the state's modern history. Pennsylvania has once again lived up to its reputation as a national decider. This is the fourth consecutive presidential election in which the state has been decided by less than 2 percentage points, a testament to its battleground status. After Donald Trump carried Pennsylvania in 2016 and flipped it back in 2024, Vance continues that Republican streak tonight with a hard-fought victory that secures the largest number of electoral votes of any key battleground. This critical win lifts Vance to 244 electoral votes, while Newsom remains at 268, just 2 votes shy of the presidency. With only 2 states still uncalled, Michigan and Arizona, the race now hinges on whether Newsom can secure a breakthrough in either state to cross the finish line. EP official can now project that J.D. Vance will win Michigan, securing the state's 15 electoral votes in another razor-thin Rust Belt contest. Michigan, an upper Midwestern state long considered a Democratic stronghold, has solidified its role as a key battleground in recent presidential elections. In the final projection, Vance narrowly defeats Gavin Newsom with 48.8% of the vote to Newsom's 48.6%, a raw vote margin of just 11,542 out of nearly 5.8 million cast. Michigan has now voted Republican in back-to-back presidential elections for the first time since the 1980s, continuing the momentum Donald Trump started when he flipped the state in 2016. Once considered part of the Democrats' blue wall, Michigan has proven more competitive in recent cycles, as Republicans have made significant gains among working-class voters in the state's rural and industrial regions. This critical win lifts Vance's electoral tally to 259, just 11 votes shy of the 270 needed to win the presidency. Newsom remains at 268, holding a slim lead, but now with only 1 state left uncalled, Arizona. All eyes are on the Southwest as this historic contest comes down to its final moments. Here it is. After countless hours of tense vote counting, we can now project that J.D. Vance has been elected the 47th President of the United States. At just 44 years old, Vance will be the 3rd youngest president-elect in U.S. history and the first millennial to ascend to the presidency. A former U.S. Senator from Ohio and Vice President under Donald Trump, Vance campaigned on a platform that aimed to build on his predecessor's policies while presenting himself as a generational shift for the Republican Party. We can make this projection because EP official can now call J.D. Vance the winner in Arizona, securing the state's 11 electoral votes, and with it, the presidency. Arizona, once a reliable Republican stronghold, has trended more competitive in recent years due to the diversification of Maricopa County. home to over 60% of the state's population. Despite this trend, Vance managed to hold the state by a narrower yet still convincing margin of 50.3% to 47.2%, a raw vote lead of over 112,000. This marks a keyhold for Vance in a state that has seen significant political shifts in recent cycles. While Joe Biden flipped Arizona in 2020 and Trump reclaimed it with a decisive win in 2024, Vance's ability to secure its 11 electoral votes underscores the continued competitiveness of the state. With this result, J.D. Vance reaches exactly 270 electoral votes, clinching the presidency. Gavin Newsom, with 268 electoral votes, fell just short in a fiercely contested battle. Arizona's late-night call brings the 2028 election to a dramatic conclusion. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on this map in the comments below. Shout out to my channel members in the description below. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. You can check out more content from my channel here, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. EP out.